and we farmed this, and then World War II came along, and my twin and I were drafted. Well, no, we were not drafted. We were subject to be drafted, and we volunteered to go in the Army Air Force as aviation cadets to learn to fly. So we enrolled in that in 1943. They called us into active duty in 1944, June of 1944. And the war began to wind down, so they slowed down our program. My twin brother's name was Harold. We were both twins and born 1926, January 3rd. And we had an older brother, Jimmy, that served in the Civil Air Patrol because they patrolled the coast for the German submarines before the war started. And it was effective because the Germans knew they were being looked at from above. And the only reason they had that because the Navy didn't have enough airplanes to do all this patrolling up and down the Atlantic coast. So my uncle, who ran a service station just opposite this airport, was involved in looking for those submarines, and he and his partner did spot a German submarine, and they dropped a bomb, but it didn't hit on the submarine. It hit behind it. It was only a 100-pound bomb, and it didn't damage the submarine, but it damaged the rudder on that submarine, and they couldn't control it. It would go round and around. But so they called up the Navy, who sent Navy PBYs out, and they dropped depth charges and sank that submarine. Well, my uncle received the Air Medal for doing that, and he gave me the Air Medal, and it's here at the airport. So that's one thing. And then when the war ended, my twin and I came home, and then we immediately enrolled in Spartan School of Aeronautics in Tulsa for aviation courses. He and I both took a mechanic course, and we learned to fly while we were there in Tulsa. Then we bought a war surplus airplane, and we learned to fly it and soloed it, and then we took a navigation course, and we flew it home. It's 1,000 miles from Tulsa to here, and you can do that flight in one day if you start early. So we came here we went to that school in '46, and we came here in June and landed on the pasture, which was here, and where the runway is now. But it wasn't as long as it is now. We cut some trees down and made a long runway out of it. And our older brother and Harold and I, after we graduated at Spartan, started a flight school here. And we had a very successful flight school right after World War II because a lot of people wanted to learn to fly. And some of the discharged soldiers had GI Bill of Rights to go to some sort of school, and we accepted them here for that. So we kind of expanded on that, and that's the way the airport got started, with Harold and Jimmy and I. And Statesville knew we were doing pretty good here, so they asked us to start a school in Statesville, which we did. And we had a good, successful school in Statesville. And Harold and I decided we'd like to work for Piedmont Airlines, so we put in an application at Piedmont. And they accepted both of us to go into pilot training and be pilots for Piedmont Airlines. They were just starting up. And Jimmy stayed on and ran this airport here. But Harold and I went on to airline career, and Harold died after 10 years with the airline, and he had a brain tumor, and I went on to fly for 31 years. I retired in 15. I retired in 1978, and I've been retired ever since. So that's the story of this airport.